And we should be live. Morning, folks. Welcome to another morning and weekday morning show of Mark's Business Check-In. We usually do this show every morning at 7:30 a.m., but this morning, due to a prior commitment, something more important, we're doing the show now at just gone 9:10 on Wednesday, the 11th of February. As you all know, we've been doing this show every morning since the 6th of January. So from the 6th of January, we'll be doing this show every single morning, which is fantastic. And thank you very much for everyone who has been joining the show during all that time, which is absolutely brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I'm just putting live our other channel now. Yeah, I won't go live. I'll go live in a second. So thanks so much for joining me. We've covered a lot of topics. If you have missed any of the shows, all the previous shows are on our YouTube channel at Mind's Eye Education, or wherever you get your podcast, are also in as a podcast. So if you rather listen to these shows as you walk around, drive around, run around, and cycle around, whatever, you can catch all the shows on the podcast. Just type in my name, Mark Beggs, and the shows will come up. I'm just making sure we're live on all our channels, and we are live on all our channels, so which is fantastic. So no matter where you're joining me from, if you're joining me from LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube, you're welcome. We've talked about a lot of things over the last month. And this morning, one thing I want to talk about is basically what happens when you sell your company, and what happens to your culture of the business you've built up. I've seen that firsthand a good few times where companies have been sold. And I give you an example of when we sold our company to Eircom a good few years ago. One of the things they cited as one of the reasons for buying us was they loved our entrepreneurial spirit. They loved the way we operated. They loved the way we thought outside the box. We did things that were different. So Eircom said that, our Air, as is now known, said that was the reason they were buying us, for that entrepreneurial spirit. And they wouldn't touch that. And they didn't want to disrupt that culture. Now, the reality is, within 6 months of buying us, they decided to move us from the building we were in Fitzwilliam Lane in Dublin, and decided to move the whole business to a new big building in East Point Business Park in Dublin. And the challenge with that move was we're now being housed with other parts of Eircom. And as you know, Air was then, and still is, a very big company, and the type of culture within that company was basically decisions were made at the very top, and then they filtered down. There's very little input allowed from the staff lower down the ranks or lower down the management chain. So the culture was very dictatorial. And my first experience of that was when I went to my first manager meeting of Air, or as it was then, Eircom. I was told this was a meeting where they wanted new ideas and some creative ideas about bringing new business into the company. And this was before the company went public. So I arrived at the meeting with my notebook, with ideas, as I usually do, thinking about how can we help the company grow, how can we help it grow its customer base and grow everything and grow its revenue stream as well. And before I could get inside the room, one of the directors from Air, who had been in the company for a long time, stopped me and asked me, "What's the idea with the two notebooks?" And I said, "Well, I have a good few ideas here. I wanted to see was anybody interested, or ideas for driving revenue, for driving traffic, for driving customers into the business." Because we had a lot of competition then from like Dennis O'Brien and other things who were very entrepreneurial. And I was told very simply, this was not a meeting for us to give ideas. This was a meeting for us to listen to the ideas from the then managing director. And he would decide which way the company was going. And he would decide what areas in sales and customer focus we should be and where we should go for business. That basically we're there to listen and we're there to implement his ideas. So even though this MD had all this talent sitting around the table. And I hope people can hear me on TikTok. I hope my microphone is working. If you can put the thumbs up and tell me it's working, it'd be great. So even though he had all this talent and all this experience sitting around the table, he didn't want any input from all that experience. He just wanted to lay down how he saw and what his vision was. And whether we agreed with it or disagreed with it, we had to go along with it. And that's the way the company was run. So you could see the culture already changing within the company that we sold them. And also back in East Point Business Park, we came from a culture where we came into work about 7, half 7 in the morning. We worked long hours because we were growing a business at that stage called the internet. Email was new, web was new. It was all ISDN lines. It was all new stuff. And we're always in there trying to find new ways to grow the business and grow the turnover and develop new products, all that type of stuff. And staff used to come in early and they might work till late, or staff might come in early and maybe take an hour and a half of lunch, whatever. But no one watched the clock because we knew staff were putting in the hours. There's no need to watch the clock. There's no need to ask someone whether they're taking an hour or an hour and a half, a 2-hour lunch, because we knew all the staff members, they were always in early and they stayed till the tasks were done. They were very hard-working staff, extremely hard-working. But that changed when we got to East Point. If anyone on TikTok can tell me that they can hear me, I'd appreciate it on the mic. That changed when we got to East Point. When we got to East Point, because they had a big canteen, staff used to come in around 8:30, 8:30, and head down for the breakfast. They wouldn't even come back up till about 9, half 9, maybe 10 o'clock. So the culture of entrepreneurship, where you're always in a rush, you're always driving forward to find to overcome new challenges and to find new revenue streams and to come up with new product ideas, we're slowly melting away because we're in a building where other aircon people, their culture was starting to influence our culture. And within a period of, I'd say, 6 months to a year, the culture that was Indigo and the entrepreneurial culture and all that stuff vanished. And even down to everyone now had to clock in and clock out for lunch and clock back in again and use a time card. You are now not trusting people to manage their own time. You're working for an organization that didn't trust you to get into work on time, didn't trust you to take your allocated lunchtime, and didn't trust you to leave at the right time. And a lot of people who came from Indigo, remember, and a lot of the management team in Indigo were all people who ran their own business before joining that company. Suddenly, we're all clocking in, we're all clocking out. I never clocked in, I never clocked out. As a matter of principle, I was a managing director. I was made a director of the SMA business for Aircom or Air. So I wasn't clocking in or out because I was putting in the hours. And I didn't get paid for being after 5, even though a lot of nights I was there till 7 or 8 or 9. So I didn't clock in and I didn't clock out. It's as simple as that. That was me as an entrepreneur retaliating against the structure that was imposed on me, right? And also keeping in mind that they told us they bought us because of our entrepreneurial spirit. So within a year, that spirit was gone. Within a year, the entrepreneurial spirit was gone. It was now the culture of a semi-state company where the man at the top or the lady at the top decides the direction of the company, decides the vision, and everyone is basically has to buy into that and has no real influence on that vision, that culture, or that direction. And that's one thing when you start your own business, you need to decide what type of culture you want. Most companies, when they start off, are very friendly. The people who start the company are very friendly to the staff. They get on with the staff, and they're always focused on driving the business forward, and they're focused on developing something that they all have an interest in and they all have a joint vision of. Because the person in charge will sell his or her vision of where they want to bring the company to the staff. So as the staff numbers grow, as your marketing department grows, your accounts department, your sales department, as all these new departments start, or teams within your company, you'll be hoping that you can sell your vision as the business owner to these people, and you hope that the culture you're developing means they also have input into that vision and what they can see and how they can help the company. Because part of culture of a new company and young, vibrant companies, and you still see in the likes of Virgin and all, they look for feedback from staff. They look for ideas from staff, but they don't just look for them. They put them into play and they put them into place. They use those ideas, right? We've all seen other companies who start off with one type of culture and who are maybe offering cheap products, and suddenly they realize after a while that they're getting so much bad press they need to change the image, and then they go back to the toxic culture of who they are now, where they're basically treating the customers as an inconvenience. They're treating the customers as an inconvenience, as someone that, it'd be better if they just paid us and didn't use our service and didn't use our products. And like we used to have a saying on the car ferries that it would be a great business without the bloods. And the bloods were the customers. We called all the customers on the car ferries bloods. And the reason they got that nickname was they drained the life out of you by asking all these questions, and you having to serve them, and you having to give them all their meals, you give them all their teas and coffees, and you have to stay open until 12 o'clock, and you have to listen to them moan. But that's why you go into business. If you go into business to supply a service or product, you can't keep your customers happy all the time. So they will tell you if they don't like the product. And if the reason they don't like the product is justified, then you have to change that and make the product better and make sure the customer's happy. If they don't like a service, if you promise something and you don't deliver what you promised, and they tell you, well, you need to get it right the next time. If that's the type of culture you're trying to grow, where you're customer focused in delivering a quality service or quality products in the time frame that you promised. Now, if you decide you're going to be a company that's not customer focused and actually customers are just a hindrance to the whole business and how you're going to treat them, it's not very well. Well, some companies have made a business out of that by treating customers extremely badly. And you need to decide if that's the type of culture you want. Most of us who are entrepreneurs start businesses, and as we employ more staff and get more people involved, we look for their feedback. We all want to work in a friendly atmosphere. We want to work for a company that appreciates us, a company that appreciates our knowledge, our expertise, appreciate the time we're spending on the business, and that they show that appreciation by maybe paying the staff well, allowing them to give ideas and using their ideas where they're good. I remember when I used to be in Indigo and in the advertising agency, people were always coming in with new ideas in how to develop the business and get more customers and drive revenue. Some of them, the ideas were off the wall. Some of them were wacky ideas. They really were. But others were fantastic. All you need is one or two nuggets to come in through your door as a business owner for someone to say, if we did that a different way, we could save a fortune in overheads, or we could increase turnover by X percentage. That's how a lot of businesses develop, by staff members seeing something and saying it, and get a reward for saying it. Could be a reward, better pay, could be a reward for an extra day's holiday, whatever. We've all heard of companies where they have boxes within the company where they ask for ideas on how maybe they make things more efficient, more effective, and make the service to the customers more effective and more efficient. And they pick someone every month or every 2 months, and they go through all the ideas and they pick someone and they say, right, this is worth a shot. This is worth doing. And they do it. And they also reward the staff. It's a competition. But it means the staff are involved, whether it's cutting down on paper clips, whether it's answering the phone quicker, whether it's developing a new piece of software that answers enough of the calls that come in on the phone to save on the number of people on the time answering the phone and let them do other stuff which make the business more efficient. That's what it's all about. Finding ideas and finding things to make the business better. So when you start your own business, you need to decide, what type of culture do you want? Do you want something that is toxic? And also, you as an employee would need to decide, what type of company do you want to work for? A lot of people want to work for Virgin. A lot of people, when Dennis O'Brien started Digicel here, wants to work for him because he was so forward thinking, and everyone knew the culture in that company, that you got rewarded for working well and working hard. And there's many companies out there, like when Google started off on Facebook, because of the new office designs and the new office layouts and the free food and the chefs on call, all that type of stuff, that people want to work for certain companies for certain reasons because of the culture within it. Now, they're still expected to work and put in a day's work and a week's work and a month's work. They're still expected to earn their wage. But a lot of these companies want to make employees feel rewarded and feel important and feel as though they are part of the whole operation. They won't be like Air or Aircom when they bought us, and myself going to that meeting and being told before I went in the room, don't give any ideas, don't give any advice, that the man sitting at the top of the table, and there was a man then, he will decide the vision of the company, the direction of the company, and you listen and you learn from him. Even though collectively around the table, there's more experience than that gentleman process or had overall. So, and when I saw that happening, I knew I wouldn't be with that company for long. That I needed to look around and decide what I was going to do next. I stayed for another, I think it was 2 years. And during that 2 years, the last eight months, I was involved in buying an agency, a new business. But I knew I had to leave at a certain stage because I knew the type of culture was there wasn't working for me. 2 years later, 3 years later, there was a battle to take over that company, and Tony O'Reilly won. And he changed the culture of the company. He made it more commercial again. He took it back to being private. He made it more commercial, and he got the management team and he whipped them into shape. Now, still, they learned from him, but he gave them his knowledge and his expertise and told them what to do and where he wanted to bring the business and what they had to do. And they would get rewarded for bringing the business to that point, and they all did. But he made sure that everyone took responsibility for their actions and everyone knew what their role was. And again, it was an entrepreneurial driven company. So I'd love to know what type of company you have at the moment, what type of business you have, and what type of culture do you have in your business at the moment, or who you're working for. If you want to let me know, you can send a comment in now or later on, or email me. And don't forget, we are live every weekday morning, except this morning we are late, every weekday morning at 7:30 a.m. So we're live every weekday morning at 7:30 a.m. And if you missed any of our shows, or you want access to any of our free training and videos, we've free sales training videos that are still free at the moment. We've also an awful lot of stuff about dyslexia, dyspraxia, ADHD, neurodiversity within the workplace. So a lot of videos, a lot of information up there on our website, mindseyeeducation.com, or on our YouTube channel at Mind's Eye Education. And if you want any information about our crisis management workshops or any of our workshops, just email me, markbeggs@gmail.com. So thanks so much for joining me this morning. Really appreciate it. I know we started off later this morning. It probably didn't suit some people. Maybe it did. There's a lot of people on TikTok coming and there. So, and I can see there's a few people on the ground here as well. So, which is fantastic. Really appreciate it. So if you do have any questions, markbeggs@gmail.com. If you have, you want to give me any information, you want to ask any questions, and you're worried about culture and sales, and we spent a whole nearly week talking about setting goals and whiteboarding your goals and your question of the week. If you missed any of that stuff, just go back to all our shows are up there from the 6th of January on YouTube at Mind's Eye Education, or if you prefer, listen to them as a podcast while you're driving, while you're walking, while you're running, while you're cycling, while you're out there riding that horse, whatever you're doing. Then all you have to do is put my name, Mark Beggs, into your wherever you get your podcast, and up it will come, and you can listen to me in your ear talking away as you walk around. All right, have a great day, folks. Talk to you all tomorrow, back at the normal time of 7:30 a.m. tomorrow morning, which is Thursday.